everyone, we're Sky and Mackayla, and today we welcome Caitlin Rose to the soundtrack of our lives. Caitlin will talk to us a bit about working in the industry, doing a bit of everything, and creating her new fan engagement business. Hi, Caitlin. It's a pleasure to have you with us.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
You spell your name the same way as my sister does.
That's the correct way.
Right.
The correct spelling.
There's so many weird spellings out there, and I always have to double check.
That's why I say this is the correct way.
Yeah.
I don't make the rules. I just live by them.
Is there another way to spell it though?
Oh yeah,
There's a lot.
You could do a K instead of a C. You could do a Y instead of the second I. People do it as like Kate, Kate, Lynn.
Mhm.
People do all kinds of stuff. I did see it once with a Q. They didn't put the U, so it still made the proper K without the W.
Yeah.
And they made it into Caitlin, and it was like one of those not like a baby not like a normal baby naming book, but one of those like, here's the meaning of every section of your name and all of the different, and then they go into all the unique ways of doing it, including that way of spelling Caitlin. And no disrespect to that Caitlin wherever she may be, but this is the correct way.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Gonna keep that in mind for the future. So would you like to start by telling us a little bit of how you ended up here and like when did the music industry become a dream for you?
Absolutely. So my story is not the same as a lot of people who are like, I grew up living and breathing the music industry. Not the case. I did grow up a fangirl and a super fan and all those things, but mostly in so my first favorite band ever was the Monkees, which even I was 6 when I went to their concert in the 90s, and they were already like old men at that point. Like they were they were my mom's band. My mom grew up on the Monkees, so when they came on Nick at Night, she was like, "Oh, the kid is watching this," and I fell in love with them. They were exactly right for my 6-year-old brain, and I still love them today. Like there's just something that translates to kids that not all music does, like that the Monkees have to them. And part of it is because a lot of their songs were manufactured. I know that they literally had what amounted to a music writing factory. I get that that's why they succeeded. Didn't matter. So started out as a super fan. My mom bought me everything and anything Monkees she could find. I still have a lot of it. T-shirts, lunchboxes. I have a weird coin tin thing. Every single VHS tape. We would go to Suncoast Video and we would see which ones they had. And we had a running list of which VHSs we already had until we completed the whole collection. So I started out with somebody who was just feeding into my fangirlness because she loved that we could bond over it, because I very quickly moved on to the Spice Girls and then NSYNC and the Backstreet Boys and all of that. And she didn't get that. So the same did not come true for all of these other bands that I love. I don't have a Spice Girls lunchbox. I only have the Monkees. She really she started me young on being a fangirl. And I actually love the Monkees way more than she ever did. I got way more into it. And that has actually kind of come full circle multiple times in my life, just how much I love them. And then stayed a super fan, moved into more of a pop punk vibe. I had 3 stepbrothers, and they were brothers to me. And even if you don't have a brother, you know what that means. I got made fun of all the time for anything.
I have an older brother.
Exactly. And it doesn't matter if they're older or younger.
Yeah, it doesn't
matter. You're still a target. So liking things like NSYNC and the Backstreet Boys and 98 Degrees and all of those kinds of bands that were of my childhood was so not cool. It was just constant fodder for them and their friends to make fun of me. So I was like, okay, fine, I'll listen to your music. I like Sum 41. I like New Found Glory. I can meet you in the middle there. I didn't go all the way to Korn and Slip. That was a lot for me, and still remains to this day that's a lot. In a good way. But yeah, so I started liking those, the more pop punk kind of realm where I could have that middle ground. And then that sort of followed me, and I found Bowling for Soup. And I'll tell you something that's going to come full circle in a minute. But summer before 8th grade was the summer I was probably closest with my just older and just younger stepbrothers. And we started shopping at Hot Topic. We were so cool. And they had this CD at Hot Topic called the Back to School Sampler. And I still remember it. I can picture it. It was blue. The 2 was the number 2. And I am 33 years old, so this is 20 years ago. And I can still picture the CD. Track 3, it was either this way or the reverse way, but it was definitely tracks 3 and 4. Track 3 was Punk Rock 101 by Bowling for Soup. And track 4 was the song Overdrive by Katie Rose, which ended up being in the Mean Girls movie. That was like the main song of the Mean Girls movie was Overdrive. So Bowling for Soup, from that CD on, Katie Rose is the part that'll come back in a minute. They were my favorite band for a solid decade. And I never saw them live once, except for one time at Six Flags. I just had no concept of how to go see shows if my mom was not buying the tickets. I didn't have friends who knew how to do it either. We were just like, oh, this music is so good. I hope I get to see the video on TRL. Like, we didn't have. And then it wasn't until like my early 20s that I finally made friends who were like, yeah, you just go, we can go see them at the TLA. And I'm like, where's that? That's a venue in Philly that was like, that was where all the pop punk shows were. Like Good Charlotte played there. Simple Plan played there, like the classic, my generation pop punk. That was where they played. Even as an adult, like even later when I was like, oh my God, are they still making music? This is awesome. I finally get to go see what my 13-year-old self never got to enjoy. So sort of kept on the pop punk, but also started to bring the pop back in with Taylor Swift. Have been a Swiftie from the beginning, the self-titled album, but again, did not know how to go see her. Could have gotten in on that ground floor and been one of those. I would have been one of those people with the posters by the bus. Are you kidding? And now the time has passed. You can no longer be a fan by the bus for Taylor Swift. It just does not work. But I've been a fan by the bus for other bands. So yeah, and then I met the Plain White T's in 2015. So now we're talking my mid-20s. That was sort of the catalyst. I met them during a time when I had gone through some really like traumatic stuff in my life. And that show was like, I hope everyone has that moment, whether it's a show or not. But I hope everyone has that moment where you feel like you just cannot feel good. And then you have this eye-opening, oh my God, the sky has opened up. This answers all of my, not my questions, but my needs and my like philosophical questions I feel like are just being solved in my head. I feel so much better. Here's all that energy back. And that was what that first Plain White Tee show did for me. And not just because of the show, but because I did the $40 VIP experience.
Whoa.
Unheard of.
Yeah.
Like, here's Jesse McCartney's, $300 platinum pricing, whatever. And here's the Plain White Tees. Come have pizza with us for $40. Yeah. Okay.
Why not?
And they were so cool. Exactly. They were so cool. The fans that were in it with me were so cool. And it was just this moment of like, okay, I'm really glad I did this. Maybe I should do it again. So I went to the next show, which was just New Jersey to Philly. That was no problem. The show after that I went to was in Ohio. And it was a 9-hour drive because I decided not to take the freeways there. Oh,
God.
Sure. Just drive from Philly to the center of Ohio. No freeways. That was the beginning of a long journey of road trips. I have followed tours. I've done it all now. And I feel like I've got my fangirl badge that I didn't get as a kid because I didn't know how. I've gotten it now. And then the Plain White Tees turned out to be, during the pandemic, the reason I got started in the music industry. I really was just a super fan who I always felt like I had a connection with them. And I've kind of always felt that about Bowling for Soup. I felt that about Katie Rose. And I'm just going to keep hinting at it until I get back to it. But the Plain White Tees really were accessible in a way that, like, it makes no sense to me that in this time in the music industry, when fans are like, oh, artists just don't engage with us anymore. Like, we're all learning the importance of fan engagement and which artists are doing it and which artists are not. And artists like the Plain White Tees have been doing it. That's how they got me hooked, was because I could tell that they cared about me as a fan. And it blows my mind that they have not re-blown up, because Tom did weekly live streams during the pandemic for 2 years straight, every week. He premiered a new song on that live stream. Like, and I have to be nice to him because he's my boss now, but still. So he was doing these live streams, and I was in school. I went to Full Sail. So I went back to school I'm trying to think of how old I was. I would have been 28 going on 29 when I went back to school. And I went online. So when the pandemic hit, it didn't really change anything for me. But I had been listening to this podcast, trying to figure out what I was doing with my life. I'm in my 20s, my late 20s, living in LA with no dream, no idea. And I was listening to this podcast called Bigfoot Collectors Club, and this guest that they had on, and I've told this story a couple times. So anybody who, like, in my family who's listening to this podcast after having listened to like other podcasts I've done has already heard this story. But this one guest talked about that he said, what did you love in high school? And he figured out what he wanted to do, which was just recreating red carpet looks and monetizing it somehow. I don't understand what he does. It doesn't matter to me. Because what I said to myself was, well, what did I love in high school? You guys are probably too young to remember Zanga. That's pre-MySpace. It was just a blog. It was just a blog, but you could buy Zanga premium and like spice up your blog with different colors and stuff. So Zanga was like where it was at. You put your little updates there, you put your big updates there. It didn't matter. It was very cool, but it was just for your friends. You weren't meant to go like find celebrities Zangas. It wasn't like that. My Zanga name was Music is My Life.
Very clear.
Sounds about right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like without ever even like thinking about it, that just was what I wanted my username to be.
Yeah.
And I've almost always used Caitlin Rose as a username. Like I rarely will come up with like a name. So that one really stuck out to me when I heard that podcast. I was like, what did I love in high school? That's right. Let's start acting like it. So my dad like sent me a list of schools that did online programs because I found getting my associates, I found that online learning was just better for me. And I think some people thrive in online learning and some people have just don't. And I love that everyone has the option at Full Sail. You can do in person or online. So my dad sent me that list and I saw Full Sail, and Full Sail used to sponsor Warped Tour. So I was like, that one, no research, nothing, that one. Okay. Got my degree. I was about halfway through in October of 2020. So Tom was doing this is the longest intro story ever.
Tom was
doing these weekly live streams, and he started to sell them where you could get your own private Wednesday club is what he calls them. And my friend who I met at a Plain White Tea show, we were like, oh my God, we would love to pick our own set list. We would love to just like hang out with Tom for a minute. Like we had kind of started to cross the fan into friend. Like we were going backstage. We would be on the list when we went to shows. We weren't like going and having lunch with them. So we were kind of like starting to cross into the friend line from fan. And we were like, yeah, let's splurge on this thing. It was supposed to be a 45-minute little, like, we picked the set list. He was going to play the songs, tell us a little bit about them. And that was it. We were on that call for over 4 hours. Like, don't ever let Tom Higginson tell anybody that he doesn't love me because he was on that call with me for 4.5 hours. He missed me just as much as I missed him. And he missed Jasmine just as much as she missed him. That's my friend who I did it with. I'm pointing to her as if she's next to me. She's not. But so we did that and we got, a little bit tipsy. We were just like sitting in our houses. There was nothing to do. It was like a Saturday night or whatever. It was just after my birthday. It was like I had splurged on it to like celebrate my birthday. And I'm a little tipsy, and Tom has this record label called Humans Were Here. And I said, Tom, this social media is a mess. You can't do this. It was like 5 posts of t-shirts, you guys. Just t-shirts. Just the t-shirts they made that were just the artist names.
Oh,
interesting.
Yeah. Always exactly. That's the soundbite. Oh, I was like, yeah, you can't do this. Like, you have to have something else happening. Like, this is like where you can be face to face with people. He's like, all right, what would you do? And I do not know what I said. I have no clue what I responded. But 2 days later, he was like, can you hop on a call with me and Darren, who's his like partner at the label, and who's they're in a band together on the label as well. So we hopped on a call, and the rest is history. And I've been working for Tom Higginson since October of 2020, which was like the dream from 2015. So I checked that off the list, and I was like, well, now what? I've achieved the ultimate fangirl dream of working for the person I was a super fan of. Like, now what? And I've loved it. I've like, even in the moments where I am not loving it, I'm loving it, because Tom's biggest thing is we can do whatever we want. And everyone who's getting started in the industry deserves a boss like that. Everyone, whether it's an internship or a job or a volunteer opportunity or whatever it is, anyone who is just getting started really in any creative industry really deserves a boss that says we can do whatever we want. And he'll hear me out, and he'll, there are some things that he'll shut down because he's like, this doesn't really fit for me. Like, I have a couple of interns working for me now. I started out as the intern, and then I have like interns of my own now. But like one of them so Tom has like a solo project of 80s music, and one of them found a really good potential partnership idea for like a giveaway or product or whatever, which is the way of the industry at this point, which is not the industry that Tom grew up in. Like, it's not the Hey There Delilah industry.
Yeah.
He didn't like those, and then has not given me any notes on it. So there's little things like that where he doesn't get the importance of things that are important currently. And I'm so glad that I get to be the one to be like, ooh, let me teach you.
Yeah.
He teaches me all the time. Like, he's always teaching me something, even if it's not intentional. I feel like I've just like learned how to be more patient and like really think about, I'm a very like go with your gut, let's move, let's do the next thing, let's keep going. And Tom's like, well, let's think about that. What if we did it this way? Or how would this look? Or whatever. Like, what would you do differently? Like things like that. Is that he's always into asking all these questions. But obviously he's also a busy guy who's in a touring band that makes him real money. Where Humans Were Here is just indie artists that aren't necessarily like that 0.001 cent off of those Spotify streams is really carrying us. So, you know, it's great because I get to be creative, but it is also like I want to be doing more, which is where this whole business idea kind of came from. So I spent a short time, which is how I found you guys, in Fantaband. So actually no, I guess I found you guys in GBTRS. Both incredible resources for your listeners. Fantaband and GBTRS, Girls Behind the Rock Show. But I was part of the leadership team at Fantaband for about 6 months. At the end of last year, I just stepped down from that role to focus on this fan engagement business. But talk about something else that, you know, every aspiring or brand new to an industry person could benefit from. A community where literally we're all just super fans of different things and how those things come together and all the similarities that those fan bases have, and celebrating all the differences and the different kinds of things that cater to different fan bases. I loved every second of being on the behind the scenes of Fantaband and like bringing stuff to life for other people. Like I did a couple of the like guest speakers and the monthly workshops and stuff. But right before I stepped down, January and February, I did 2 final guest speakers, and they were both people who I've like worked directly with. So the first was Danny Freeman, who hosts a podcast with Jarrett Reddick of Bowling for Soup. Come on. I was just on a podcast and he introduced me as the queen of coming full circle. And like, the more I think about that, it's too much. So I brought Danny on, and we had gotten Tom on their podcast. So I brought Danny into Fantaband, and we talked about pop punk networking and how Danny and I are very similar in our mentalities of there's a seat for everybody at the table. Danny's big thing is there's enough pizza for everybody at the party. So we're saying the same thing, but in our own like unique ways. But I've always felt like my success doesn't mean your failure. So I love that I'm able to, like, with my interns, with this new company, with Fantaband, with all these different opportunities, I get to bring people with me and like lift them up alongside me, or have them lift me up alongside them. And that's not something I've had in, you know, non-career industries or whatever, like in other jobs, in other situations. I've had community, but not that mutual uplifting. So that's something that I sort of have found. And the more that I do it, the more that I lift other people up, the more that other people are lifting me up. I love it. So Danny has always been somebody I wanted to like work with more. So getting to do like bring him on as a guest speaker was so cool. And then in February, I had an all-girl punk band from LA called The Blushes, and The Blushes contain Katie Rose. I told you it would come full circle.
You did.
But since then, I've actually gotten to work more with The Blushes. So it was like I kind of proved myself to them in that sense, where I was like asking the right questions, and they really enjoyed the community that was happening in front of them. Like they could see all the stuff happening in the chat, and like they just loved it. So then that made them, you know, you can't just work with anybody. I get that. And like you've had, you know, especially them, they have their own stories to tell of like their own traumatic stuff in the industry, where like you don't want to just put your trust in anybody. And I totally understand that. So for me, having that opportunity to prove myself, and then boom, now I'm working with them. So just like checking, like I said, I'm just like checking off these boxes, like Bowling for Soup, Katie Rose, here we go. Yeah. And I've gotten completely off of your question, which was how did this get started? And now I'm into the present. So
no,
I mean, I've told the whole story.
You answered it. Like, how did you end up where you are now? You really answered that.
Yeah.
So you can interrupt me anytime, because if you let me keep going, I will.
Does your fan engagement business have a name yet?
Yeah, so I had conceived of a company last year, and I'm going to keep the same name because it's Caitlin Rose Communication. So I think it still carries over. And the goal is like to potentially do other things with Caitlin Rose Communications as well. So this will be Caitlin Rose Communications, the fan engagement solution.
Ooh, I like it.
Because we are positioning ourselves to be the fan engagement solution. I love what other people are doing with fan engagement.
So what is the solution to fan engagement?
It's not just one solution. So we are going to provide multiple solutions. So the main things that I came into this business wanting to do, that's not to say these are our only services, but these are the ones that I was like, I've done this before. I know I can duplicate this for other artists besides just doing it at Humans Were Here. So the first is a street team. And I think there are so many different kinds of street teams. So that's sort of a vague term at this point. But I'm talking about the people who are in the streets or online supporting you in a way that is mutually beneficial. So you can ask people to go and put up posters or to engage with your posts or to make TikToks with your sound, but they're going to be like, okay, I like this one, but not this other one. Like, you're not going to hit everybody. And not to say that what I'm doing is hitting everybody either. But what we did was I solo created it, and now I have interns helping me run it. But I started with Humans Were Here, just super fans of Tom, just people who were already following along with the label. That was our street team to start. And then it's kind of grown from there. And now I'm able to offer opportunities for people who don't necessarily care about Humans Were Here, but want content creation experience, want review writing experience, want press release experience without like an official, like, because internships ask you for a lot of time.
Yeah.
What we ask for is like maybe 3 to 4 hours, not even consistently a week. So like on some weeks when we have a release coming out, maybe you spend some time coming up with some content or coming up with some TikToks or writing a press release or whatever it is. But then the next week, okay, that song's done. You're free to go until the next song, unless there's something that you want to promote. We have stuff that's kind of ongoing, and then we have release-based tasks. But in return, you earn points, and then you can get autographs, you can get social media interactions, you can get thank you videos, you can get all kinds of stuff. Birthday shout outs. We're going to do a Zoom call twice a year with an artist on the label. Like, there's all kinds of stuff that I've really tried to like hone in on what people respond to. And it's a lot of, trial by fire and see what sticks. Just throw a whole bunch of stuff and something's going to stick. And it's going to be different with every fan base too. So the stuff that I've learned at Humans Were Here might only partially carry over to somebody else. But I do feel confident that even 10 people guaranteed engaging with your stuff, creating TikToks, making content for your partners too, because we have a partner company that we work with, and I can get you, some free product if you're going to make social media about it and use our songs as the content or as the sound. Like, there's ways to make things mutually beneficial, and I just think that a lot of street teams aren't taking advantage of that. So that's the first thing. That's probably the main task that started it all, was like, I want to make more street teams. But then, I mean, they're fun. And then last year I started doing these Zoom parties for our releases. So instead of just like, oh, we'll go live on Instagram, or oh, we'll do a YouTube premiere and like we'll be in the chat, a Zoom really offered people a chance to be face to face with the artist. And we did a couple different things. One time we had like our podcast hosts from the podcast that the guys had been on came in and asked trivia questions that the street team had come up with. So the street team had an assignment to come up with a bunch of trivia. We sent it to the podcast host, and then they got to ask the questions at the party. And we gave away prizes. We had I partnered with a couple of different companies to give away free stuff. We had a couple of sponsors. Like, there's all kinds of stuff you can do. We did an acoustic video that was exclusive to the party. I feel like I'm giving away all my trade secrets here, but this is what we're going to do.
It gets people excited to join.
Yeah.
I mean, please, if you're listening to this and you either are a fan or have fans, either way, give me a call.
So how can people like join the street team or your fan engagement business?
Sure.
Is it like different from the street team? Like, is it your business creating the street teams, or how is it all working?
It's a little bit of both, and that's a great question.
Okay.
So currently, the street team I'm running is Humans Were Here. So that is based at that record label. That is that street team. I will at some point create something similar to a street team, but I might call it something different for Caitlin Rose Communications to do things to spread the word, because I do think that I'm gonna, if I can think of ways that are mutually beneficial, I don't want to just have people like do stuff for me. I'm not interested in just like having people, do my bidding. I want to create an environment that's beneficial for both. So if I need some social media content and you're in a place where you're looking to get some social media experience, you've never done it before, then that's a perfect place for us to work together, because I can't afford to pay you and your skills aren't not that your skills aren't payable, but like you need to hone them, and then we can hone them together. And now you go to the next place and now you're going to get a real job. Whereas with me, you make me 5 pieces of content and move on. There's no contract, there's no anything. That's the kind of opportunity I want to create with whatever I end up calling mine. Then as a service, we're going to create street teams like the Humans Were Here one, which are like an interactive fan base for the artist. So an artist can pay us like a whatever amount of money to create and then manage the street team. And then ideally we'll find a person within the street team to continue to run it, so they don't have to keep paying us because it would be much more expensive to pay a service, like to pay a company, than to give somebody like, here's $100 a month stipend please keep the street team running, because it's not like it's a full-time job. You don't need 40 hours a week just for the street team. I mean, maybe Fearless does. They have a crazy street team. I took a lot of their ideas because they're so good. Fearless street team, also excellent resource for people who are just getting started in the industry. I never took part in their marketing calls, but apparently they have marketing calls for their artists.
Wow.
They have all kinds of more than what we're able to offer at Humans Were Here. Like, they're just because they're Fearless Records, like so they can offer way more. But just since we've kind of talked a little bit about like GBTRS and Fan to Band, that one popped into my head. The Fearless Records street team is another, like, you can do a bunch of little different things. And then once the Caitlin Rose Communication street team is up and running, y'all give me a call.
Okay, that sounds, it's really interesting seeing the plans and how everything starts. I was part of a street team. I don't want to name anyone, but I ended up leaving because they were really bad. Like, we did a lot of things to like push releases or something. Like, all the fans were doing a lot of things, and then we were getting nothing in return, which, like, we didn't expect like anything super, like, a lot of stuff. But don't tell us that you're gonna do a Zoom call, or that we're gonna get maybe a ticket or a hangout for a show or something,
Right.
if you are then just gonna ignore us after you got what you needed.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
so
I think that that's so prevalent in the industry in all sorts of ways. And it just doesn't make sense to me. And if anything, it brings us right back to fan engagement, right? Because like the artists who don't understand the importance of their fans and don't understand, like, a super fan is not just some random person who's going to come to your show. A super fan is going to be behind you no matter what. Like, obviously there are certain lines that you cross and a super fan's out. But for like 99% of the time, unless you are a total out of nowhere, can I curse on this?
Yeah.
Okay. Unless out of nowhere you just become a total shithead, like, unless that happens, your super fans are going to be behind you. Why would you not want to do anything for them? Like, even just a quick, hey, thank you so much. Like, that's what we do a lot. We do a lot of thank you videos where I've had a bunch of the artists like, hey, even Tom, it's Darren, it's whoever, it's Matt and Lizzie from Fairview. We just wanted to say thank you. We heard you're kicking ass on the street team. We really just wanted to thank you for all your hard work. Like, even that little thing. And it's not always their favorite artist that does it. I'm not like, let me see whose favorite artist is One Life and that's who will, like, no, I randomly assign these thank you videos, and people love them because that's like, they just want to feel appreciated, because they are appreciated. Obviously they're doing work. Their work is valuable by being your super fan. That's valuable. Because social media is king at this point. If nobody's
100%.
interacting with your social media, I didn't want that for the industry.
Yeah, I have to say, we have really bad experiences, and we figured out that we were messaging the account of the band or whatever on Instagram, but sometimes it would be actually the artist, but sometimes it would be management. And we kind of figured out when each one was, because of the way they wrote things and everything. And we're like, okay, when they wanted to make us happy about something that we were upset with, they would just be like, oh yeah, blah, 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 blah. And then a lot of things would happen, and they would tell us a lot of pretty things and a lot of amazing things. And we were like, oh, this is really cool. This is okay. We're staying. And then a week later, again, out. No communication, no answer, nothing.
That is real.
So I just ended up leaving. I was just like, this is too stressful. Like, this is too much for me not to be like,
absolutely.
Yeah, nothing.
And we're
being
not
a super fan is a full-time commitment.
100%. And we're not asking for any financial compensation. We are asking for appreciation.
Yep.
It is an unpaid
I'm sorry, Mackayla.
job.
We both got really excited.
No, I get it. Yeah. I fully understand.
But I'm sorry that happened. And my goal is to literally make sure that that isn't what's happening. And something that I've learned running a street team is, like, sometimes you forget that you've promised things because it's not your full-time job. When you're running a street team, it is just one part of all the things that you're doing. So it does become easy to be like, oh my God, I promised that I was going to have a meeting and I haven't scheduled it yet. Or, oh no, I said I was going to tell them this secret and then now it's out on social media and I forgot to tell them first. Like, things do slip through the cracks. And what's been really nice is having a team, like these interns that I have working with me, as opposed to just doing it myself. I've also had to get better at putting things Google Calendar, but that isn't my own personal thing, just remembering to put things in the calendar. But yeah, that's my goal, is to make sure that those kinds of things aren't happening. And I think there's a lot of fan engagement companies out there, and some of them are making street teams. And I don't think that they're making the street teams like what you're talking about. And those are the other thing is that I want to incorporate those companies into my company. So if I'm not the right fit for you, let me find you. You know, I know there's one, like I'm with the band is one that's like making street teams for people. I would love to connect with them. Anybody who's doing the fan engagement stuff, like Fan to Band, the reason I stepped down was so that I can work directly with them as a partner once I get to that point. And that's what I want to do, because to me, like, again, there's enough seats for everybody. So this attitude of like, if I succeed, I can't help anyone else succeed. It just doesn't make any sense. And it carries over into street teams that are run like this, who they're just like, I have time to ask you to do things, but I don't have time to fulfill what I've said I would do.
Yeah.
Like, can't we all just appreciate each other? Like,
Yeah.
if you keep motivating me, I mean, you just said it, you offer me these nice things, I'm going to be motivated. But then if you don't follow through with them, why would I keep doing stuff for you? Whereas instead, maybe it's only 15 people. It doesn't matter. Those are 15 people. That's 15 guaranteed likes, 15 guaranteed comments, 15 guaranteed shares, 15 guaranteed TikToks with that sound. I cannot wrap my head around not even just the lack of fan engagement, but the lack of fan appreciation or super fan appreciation. Because like you said, Mackayla, like it is a full-time commitment. It's a financial commitment. It's a time commitment. I took business coaching for a short while, and the three things we talk about are time, energy, and effort. And what you put your time, energy, and effort into is what you get back. And if you're putting your time, energy, and effort into an artist as their super fan, I firmly believe that you should get something back. Am I saying you should get, again, financial compensation? No. That's insane to ask somebody to pay somebody to be your fan.
Yeah.
That's not what we want to do here.
Yeah.
But there are so many ways to work with your fans, to appreciate your fans. I mean, Tom took a huge chance on me knowing I was a super fan of his. He knew I wasn't going to do anything to wreck his label. He knew he could trust me because I was a super fan.
Yeah.
How do we have to keep making these posts? Like Amplify Her Voice is always making these posts. Fan to Band is always making these posts. The Digilog is always making these posts. Like, fans belong in the industry, and it does not make any sense to me when people don't get that.
Especially
I could
women
talk about it all
fans,
day.
because we know what the experience of it is to be a fangirl, and men do not understand that.
They really don't. But let me tell you also that fan girls and fan not girls are treated differently. I went to a show. Now, I've been a super fan who has followed tours. And it's always like, I might get a shout out from the stage after I've driven 12 hours to a show or something like that. I usually get the set list, like they save it for me. And that's cool. And I'm very happy with what I've received. That's being a super fan of the Plain White Tees specifically. Like, those are the experiences that I had. They were always very positive. I always felt like I didn't feel like I was crazy because I followed a tour. They really appreciated it. And one of them, who actually, Dave Terrio, who's no longer in the band, said, I wish we had 1 million of you. Which, like, to a super fan, that is music to your ears, because I think we all, especially as women, with all the stuff that we already deal with as women, never mind bringing in a super fan, we always kind of think to ourselves, ooh, am I being too much? Am I over the top right now? You know, am I acting like a crazy person? Like, that's kind of the stuff, at least for me, and I think for other super fans, like, that's kind of what goes through your head.
Am I going to be taken seriously?
Exactly. And this was like before I had gone back to school, but after I was like, I think I do want to work in the industry. So it was such a pivotal time where, like, the specific tour that I'm thinking of that I followed just was exactly the right time that I needed an artist to be that way. However, I just went to a show, and I won't say who it was because I've never seen them with a super fan that's a girl. So I don't know how they would have acted differently. But let me tell you, there was a male fan at the show who had followed the tour in another state and then needed to see, he just was like, I need to see one more. Love it. Respect it.
Understand. Fully.
Relatable. So he flew across the country to see one more show on the tour, which, again, relatable, love the hustle, on board.
Yeah.
He learned to play an instrument that's only on one of their songs, and they did it at the VIP so that he could play along with them, which was so cute. What a cool moment for him to have learned this instrument, learned this part to the song, and then get to play it with them in front of, like, these 10 other people who paid to be there. Great. But then at the end of the show, and this is so cool, I want it to be known. It's so cool. I cannot imagine myself being put in that position. I just don't think it would happen. At the end of the show, they had not planned an encore, or maybe they changed the encore to that song. And they came out and they went into the crowd. and they brought 3 chairs out. So it's the 2 of them and then this guy, and they pull him up.
Oh,
It's so amazing in front of the entire crowd to shut down the show. The tour manager took a set list and like corrected it, like added the song that they did together to the bottom. The whole crew signed the set list. I mean, what an amazing night for that guy. And he absolutely deserved it. Huge super fan, getting exactly what he deserved. But what you don't see are women who learned that instrument being pulled out into the crowd and whatever else. And maybe that's just my experience. And I'm certainly not saying that artist, which is why I don't want to name them, because I'm not trying to insinuate that they wouldn't have done the same. I just think it's more common to appreciate a male fan naturally. Whereas appreciating a female super fan, I feel like you constantly feel like you're dealing with teeny boppers, even once they're adults. And like, that's not fair to us, to adult women who like just want to jam out and have a good time and love your music and have, you know, watched a bunch of your interviews and love who you are as people, love your message, love whatever it is. Like, that should be appreciated just as much.
Yeah.
So that's my men versus women speech.
We feel that. We are a podcast run entirely by women. So
I love that. I love that. Right now, my whole team is women as well. And I will say, like, I've worked for a couple of men in the industry and I've worked for a couple of women in the industry. And I've been very, very lucky that I say lucky, most of my positive interactions have been with the men that I've worked with. There are 2 women, and I will not name them, but there are 2 women in particular in the music industry who really kind of made me feel like men usually make me feel, whereas like in other areas. Whereas the men in the music industry that I have worked with are gems. Tom Higginson and his "we can do whatever we want. Let me bring this person who's still in school onto my record label's team with no experience at all." Like, I mean, come on. Like, going from a super fan to that in the span of literally 1 year, come on. You know, and the other guys who were at that label, whether it's the guys in, you know, mostly it's the men. Well, actually, it's all overlap. The men who are the artists and the men who are on the team. It's all the same people. But like Darren and Eric Varel are brothers. They're in TLB with Tom on the label. It's all a bit incestuous, but in the best way. But like, those 2 are like just so supportive of everything I do. Darren's also a visual artist, and he came to me and was like, "I would love if you would find me some places to display my art, and anything that sells, you'll get a commission," which, like, that's not my wheelhouse. That's not something I've ever done before. But Darren saw what I was doing for Humans Were Here and was like, "I don't want to just have a random person doing this for me. I want it to be somebody I can trust." Like, the men that I have worked with, and like, I've worked with Magic Giant, I've worked with American authors, like, not necessarily specifically in the capacity that I've worked with Tom, like, that's my biggest one. I've connected with Danny Freeman and Jarrett Reddick. Like, I've connected with DB Stewart, who hosts his own music podcast. I can't say enough good things about the myriad of men that I have worked with in the industry. But I do think that as women, we unfortunately still have to be careful. Not even just of like the obvious stuff, but also of just like putting our time, energy, and effort into things that are not giving us anything back. And I have found that, again, not in the music industry, but in other areas of my life, that is what I tend to see, is that, or experience, is that men will just take and take and take from a woman because she will give and give and give. And I would just, not that you asked, but I would just say, I would just say to be cautious of where your time, energy, and effort are going in any sense of that word. I've gotten completely off topic here, but that's what I would end my very crazy, long, rambling sentence with.
Oh, that's completely fine. We appreciate all the things that you're sharing with us and everything you say. I feel like it's very important and useful for everyone listening, even for us as well, because we're also super fans of different people and different artists out there. And it's funny that you were talking about this experience that another guy had, because so there's an artist that I have interact with on Instagram multiple times. It just happened. It's not like anything crazy, but sometimes I comment because I really like his music.
Love that.
And he will like it, and he's like, "Thank you." He had responded to like some of my stories or whatever. But sometimes I'm like, am I being seen as this super crazy fan girl? Because I'm like commenting and saying like your music is amazing. So one day I just was like, not as a fan girl, but as like a musician. I really like your music. I think it's awesome. I was like, I don't want to be seen.
I have
as
to
this
qualify
crazy
my
one.
super fanness.
I was like, oh my God, I don't. Most of them, I feel like they just think we're just crazy about them or something.
Yeah. And they're not wrong. And I also want to like, I do want to say, like, I went to like, I mentioned Jesse McCartney's platinum pricing because I paid it. And I went down that rabbit hole. And it is a good deal. the amount that you pay, like the stuff that you get, the experience that you get compared to the other tiers, it makes sense. But my goodness, the amount of money I spent on that man in a very short amount of time, because I made friends at the first VIP I did. And they were like, well, what if we did it again? What if we did it again? And I'm like, oh my God, it's the same show every time. We don't have to keep doing it. But I completely lost why I brought Jesse McCartney up. Wait, we're having ADHD brain. Hold on. Let's do an ADHD backtrack. So what's cool about Jesse McCartney is most of the people going to those shows are just super fans. They're not the super fans that want to also work for him. His fan base, and I think that that's like why a lot of people think that their super fans are that way. His fan base is people who are like, oh my God, you're so hot. I love you so much. You're so handsome. I mean, he writes a lot of his own music. He's not like a traditional, like he's not like NSYNC who were just like puppets performing to a point. Like he's not like that. But I do think that there is a bit of a manufacturedness to him that people gravitate towards it just to be fans. And that's it. And I think that other artists have forgotten, like, oh, right, our fans are also people. They are intelligent people with skills and talents and things that they bring to the table. They forget that they also are super fans. Like that's something about Tom that I think allows him to appreciate me, is he's a huge, like dorky super fan of a bunch of people. The Weeknd, something Gex, 300 Gex, some amount of Gex is a band that he's very obsessed with. Maybe it's 100. I'm not sure. He's going to yell at me if he ever listens to this and is like, you don't know. There's going to be people listening to this like in their cars being like, oh my God, this girl has no idea. But yeah, like he's a super fan too. And I think that remembering that you're also a super fan is like the ticket to unlocking your appreciation for fans. And not just thinking of them like you had to qualify, like I'm not just a dorky super fan, I also am a musician. Like I think that the more that artists remember that they are super fans and that their super fans are people just like them, just like we have to remember that our artists are just people like us. We do have to work on that, I think, as a community. I certainly do. I forget. I'm like, no, you're a superstar. What do you mean? Like, what? So I do think that there's like, we both have to remember that the other party is a person, that this person can have flaws, that this person has talent and skills that I maybe don't possess. So it would be good to bring them onto the team, which is what Tom saw in me. But yeah, I think that's like the positive direction that fan engagement and the music industry as a whole can go, is appreciation of the fans and understanding that the fans are people and that they aren't just, oh my gosh, you're so hot, I love you so much. Like there's so much more to it. And there's nothing wrong with that either. There's nothing wrong with just standing at the front of the stage and, oh my God, you're so hot, I love you so much. But I think we also need to appreciate the fans that have something to offer in return as well. It's just a completely different set of fans. And that's great. If you have both the, oh my God, you're so hot, and the fans that like know what they're talking about the music industry and want to help you, your fan base is unstoppable.
What's the best advice you've been given about the music industry?
Been given. The one thing that popped into my head, and I don't know if this is necessarily the best, but this is the one that popped into my head. There were a couple times where I was getting very frustrated with Tom because he is a busy dude and was not getting back to me. And like during the pandemic, I got very spoiled because he wasn't touring and he wasn't really doing Plain White Tee stuff. So he was super focused on the label and like he was essentially at my beck and call. Like if I had a question, if I needed notes, if I needed to do something, he was right there. So when we kind of transitioned back to normal life and he kept me waiting and kept me waiting and kept me waiting, which is like, he and I have had to work through that, which I also think is important to like find a way to work through. If your boss or the person you're working with or for or whatever is somebody who takes days to respond, but you're somebody who needs a response in 30 minutes, you've got to find a middle ground because otherwise you're just going to continue to get pissed at each other for meeting expectations that aren't fair in either direction. Tom isn't me and I'm not Tom, so we shouldn't expect ourselves from each other. But I was getting very, very frustrated, and Darren pulled me aside figuratively and was like, because I think it was over text, and he was like, well, if you're gonna work in the music industry, you're gonna have to get used to this. And I think that not that what he said was the best advice, but that the way that I translated it, which has become, cool, if you can't meet me halfway, then I don't want to work with you. If you, if that's how you feel, like this is, you just have to deal with it. I wholeheartedly and respectfully disagree because I don't think that that's just how it is. Because I've also worked with a lot of artists who don't do that to me. And I've also set a boundary with artists who tried and been like, okay, listen, if you don't get back to us by this date, that's cool. We're going to do what we want. We're going to put out the content that we want to put out. We're going to put out, whatever the case may be without you, the artist, because you're not responding. I have no problem with that. I've taken that to like a bigger level with my interns, and I've made it very clear that some of the things that we have had to put up with individually and as a group up until this point, Caitlin Rose Communications will not be tolerating. I'm not interested in working with artists who don't respect the big three: time, energy, and effort. If I'm putting time towards your work, if I'm putting energy and effort towards your content, then I expect the same respect to be paid to me. That's all. I'm not asking for a 15-second reply time, but if I say, hey, I need an answer on this by today so we can do this tomorrow, and you don't answer, we're just going to do it. And that's just not an artist that I really want to work with, is somebody who doesn't respect my time, energy, and effort, or the time, energy, and effort of my team. Because whether I'm the one who's working on it or not, that's a waste of our resources to be working with somebody who doesn't feel that we're a priority. And this is like, I'm really putting Tom on blast here. I want to make it very clear. I love Tom Higginson so much. He has done so much for me. He took a huge risk bringing me onto the team and has been nothing but supportive, but he has no concept of time, is really what it is. He just has no concept of time. So it'll be 3 days and he'll be like, what do you mean? You just asked me that this morning. And I'm like, I sure didn't. So just working with that, because he is somebody who has so many other good things that I want in an artist, in a person I work with, that's something I can settle on. That's fine. Now we've set a boundary where I've said, I'm going to bug you every single day. I'm going to text you. I'm going to at you in the iMessage. I don't care. Like, I'm getting your attention one way or another. And he has said, great, that's what you have to do.
Yeah.
Cool. That's fine. I can do that. But if I do that and you're still not answering, that's not going to work for me. The advice I got was wrong, but the advice I translated it to was essentially, if you're not respecting my time, energy, and effort, I'm not going to respect yours. And we don't need to work together, and that's fine.
Yeah, absolutely. So from obviously you being a super fan of different bands and stuff, and also working with like fans, what do you think is like the most important things for fans? Like, is it the music that the artists put out there, the shows, the interactions, or the interviews that they get to like listen to?
Sure. I think it depends on the fan. And I think that you could ask a line of 100 fans and they're all going to give you a different answer from that list that you just gave. Truly, like the music, the shows, the interviews, like all the different things, like they all are going to have different things. What I would say is that anytime an artist engages directly with a fan, that's the most important thing overall. Whether the fan realizes that or not, and whether they would say that, they may be like, no, this music, that live show, whatever it is, anytime that a fan is engaging directly with their favorite artist, that's the most important thing. And that can be social media, that can be face-to-face, that can be a group setting, that can be one-on-one. There's 100,000 different ways that can look. Anytime that direct connection is happening, A+. Like, that's the most important thing that they're going to remember. Because when I followed one tour, so I followed the Plain White T's on a tour that was the 3-dimensional tour, and it was a triple headliner, which is nonsense. What is a triple headliner? They each headlined a leg of the tour. It was nonsense. I heard that Magic Giant and American Authors did a co-headlining tour where they just like switched on and off on the stage. That's the only co-headlining tour I want to hear about from now on. That's it. If you're not switching stage time, well, I don't want it. So anyway, so they did this 3-dimensional tour, and I bring my dog whenever I do these road trips. So usually what I'll do is I'll wait outside the venue. I haven't had to do this in a long time. I haven't had to do this since 2019 because the Plain White Tees have not toured. I will absolutely still be doing it, just in a different way now, because I don't necessarily have to get there so early to get the interaction. But like, you get there early. You guys know you've gotten to shows early to see the band arrive or whatever it is. So this was because it was a triple headline. They had 2 artists sharing one bus, and then the Plain White Tees were on the other bus with like a lot of the crew. So that was kind of how they split it up. And the other artists were New Politics and the Mowglis. And the Mowglis had no idea who I was. Obviously, the Plain White Tees knew who I was, but New Politics and the Mowglis, no idea. They came up to me because I had my dog with me, and they were like, oh my gosh, we had to leave our dogs at home. They used to be tour dogs. Like, can we please say hi? All this stuff. I had no idea who these people were. No idea. This was the first show that I had seen on the tour. They didn't know who I was. But let me tell you that created an instant fan right there. You're going to just walk up to me and talk to my dog? Absolutely. Absolutely. Can't wait to see what your music is like, because I already love you. And then luckily I love the music too. and if you want to talk full circle, the Blushes, who I talked about with Katie Rose, Katie Earl from the Mowglis is also in the Blush. Queen of coming full circle, baby. But yeah, so like anytime that there's that direct connection, like you can't beat that. You just can't. And even if it's on stage, there are ways to connect, like pulling somebody who learned a specific part in your song out into the crowd to sing with you or to perform with you.
Yeah.
That is obviously he knew who they were, but they have a fan for life. They already did. But now it's like, he's never going anywhere. What an unforgettable experience that they created for him.
So how do you think like connections between the artist and the fandom, those obviously, as you were saying before, they're very important. I feel like they should be important for both. But how can a fandom help create something real with the artist, like that connection that is real, without crossing boundaries?
Great question. I mean, I think it's going to depend on the artist. And I feel like all my answers are, well, it depends. But it does kind of depend on the artist, because there's going to be artists who are not going to want you reaching out to them. Like, I'll tell you, when I first started working in the industry, before I had any idea what I was actually going to do. So when I got brought into Humans Were Here, it was pretty much like, I don't know, maybe try these things and see how you like them, which is exactly how I've tried to treat my interns, because I think it was very valuable. And it helped me to see, okay, I don't like this. I'm not good at this. I'm good at this, but I don't enjoy it, whatever. Just like side note, if you can find an opportunity where you can try different things, please go for it. Since then, I've pitched myself to a couple of different artists, sometimes just by DMing them. Some of them I had a personal connection with, some of them I didn't. Sometimes they opened them and didn't say anything. Sometimes they didn't open them at all. Sometimes they, I had one girl, oh my God, such a tragedy. Okay, full circle moment. The Monkees. Davy Jones' daughter, Annabelle Jones, did a podcast with Lucy Walsh, who is Joe Walsh of the Eagles' daughter. So they did a podcast together. I've always felt drawn to Annabelle Jones in a like kindred spirit kind of a way. Ever since I met her, after Davy Jones died, they did a Monkees convention, which is why I say it's come into my life. Like since I was 6, it's just like come back. So I met her at that first convention after Davy Jones passed away. And then she was a musician at the time, and I followed her as closely as I could, which wasn't easy because she doesn't put a whole lot on social media. More power to her. I DM'd her. I think we're either Facebook friends, or I like DM'd her page or whatever it was, and she answered. And I was like, I'm getting started in the music industry. Like, I would love to show you my portfolio, show you some things I've done, show you what I can do, and see if there's anything that you're in need of. She was all about it. And then I want to say within like 2 or 3 months, her husband, who was her like music partner, he revitalized her love of music after her dad passed away. And then he tragically died in a car accident. And she has not made music since. And that was like the most successful, like the most, not successful, but the most like exciting response that I got. So like for me, speaking of crossing boundaries, it has been very hard to have other interactions with her, which I have, and not be like, so are you going back to music anytime soon? Because you were so good at it. And I know it's what you're meant to do, but I know you feel like it's not what you're meant to do. So it's really hard. Like, I want to acknowledge that it's really hard to like find where the boundary is and not cross it, because I think that every fan should take a chance to try to connect with their favorite artist. I think every fan should try to politely slide into those DMs and just appreciate the artist. Start there. Start as just a fan. Just, I'm such a fan of your music. This is why this song spoke to me, whatever it is. You don't have to write a letter. It's an Instagram DM. Like, be accurate with what an Instagram DM should be. But I do think that sometimes they open them. I tagged Zoe Clark, is kind of an up and coming artist that I fell in love with last year. I came across, she did that TikTok sound that was like, I'm just a Jess looking for her Nick Miller. You guys heard that?
I think so.
So
sounds familiar.
It was like just that clip of the song went viral on TikTok, but also my feed has quite a bit of New Girl in it. So it makes sense that I would have seen that. But then I found her organically. Like, I found her separately from the sound, and I was like, oh my God, this is the sound. Oh my God, I love this music. Holy shit. And just like fell in love with it, followed her on Instagram, whatever. She ended up, I only found her last year, and she ended up in my Spotify, like whatever end of the year thing. I don't remember what place she was in, but I always tag everybody. Also, a super simple thing you can do. Just tag in your story that you love that artist, because that artist is going to be like, dang, they didn't think I was going to see that. They just want their friends to be able to find me because they love me so much. That's so cool. I would always say, like, not excessively and like not in stuff that doesn't concern them. But if there is a relevant piece of content that you're posting, tag that artist. There are some people who will tag anything and everything in hopes of getting attention. I am not behind that method. But if it is relevant content, tag them. So I tagged Zoe Clark in that, and she replied with like a little heart, not like double tapped it, but like replied with an emoji. And I was like, oh, Thank you. Just like that little, and then now what I will tell you is I also sent her like a follow-up. Like I definitely crossed the boundaries of like, and I wasn't rude and I wasn't like intrusive, but I was
Yeah.
like, Zoe, I work in the music industry. Can you tell me what your team needs more than anything else? I was very proud of this message. She did not respond. And
But you put
rightfully so.
yourself
What
out
does that
there.
even mean?
You tried.
But so exactly, I
Yeah,
tried
yeah.
and maybe I unsent it and she read it and she won't remember that she read it when I DM her again with a much more cohesive message.
Unless
just
she
think shoot your
listens to this
shot.
podcast.
Oh my God. Please don't
Which
listen to this
I-
podcast until after we work together, Zoe. Wait until we're working together and then we can laugh about it all down the line. I think it's just, shooting your shot in a polite way. And also just like with acting, like I listen to a lot of rewatch podcasts. So you hear a lot of the stories of like the auditions and things like that.
Mhm.
Don't give up because your favorite artist didn't answer you. Don't give up because you didn't get the dream response or because when they did respond, it was just an emoji. It wasn't a whole conversation. Don't get discouraged by that stuff. For me, I've started to believe what's for you won't pass you. So if that artist doesn't respond to you, you just weren't supposed to work with them. And I'm sorry, but you're going to work with somebody better who's a better fit for you.
Mhm.
So I
That's a
think
very
just
good
not getting too
mentality.
discouraged by the rejections. Yeah.
That's great. So I want to say, so we have two more questions.
Okay.
Also, it's been amazing talking to you
You too.
and
This
being
is fun.
being being able to like share with someone who was a super fan and now is working with one of their favorite artists. Like I feel like I don't know if Mackayla also had the same experience, but I used to listen to the Plain White Tees when I was like in high school,
Mhm.
and they had their song on the Cinderella story,
Oh, okay.
and they
I always
have
forget about
all
that.
yeah, like
Yeah.
but that's I think probably that's how I started listening to them.
Makes sense.
At some point, obviously, I just like I don't know, I haven't really heard anything
Yeah.
new. I don't know
They're
what's going on with
well,
them
I can give
lately,
you a quick
but
update. Their album that they put out in 2018 was a departure from their normal stuff, but their album that they're putting out later this year is much more back to basics. So you should
Very
check it out when it comes
exciting.
out.
I should check that out. Yeah.
Go listen to Spaghetti
I
Tattoo right now.
okay.
That's their
Okay,
latest
goodbye.
single. It's very reminiscent of their old stuff. Like, I'll see you guys later, okay? No.
Yeah. My mom used to play some of their songs when she would make dinner in the kitchen when I was a kid. So
Love that attachment. Oh, they are good. It is good cooking music.
mhm.
That makes sense to me. That's like a nice chill vibe. I get it.
It really is.
That's exactly why 2018's album, which I loved, it was called Parallel Universe. I literally have a tattoo of that's the logo that's on the CD, but it wasn't their usual stuff. Like it was like a whole different band, somewhat intentionally, somewhat not intentionally. And then they realized, like, okay, what people really liked was this. We can do this. So let's keep doing this.
Mhm.
So Spaghetti Tattoo is what they have out now. Great. They've played a couple of songs. I've heard one other song that's coming out. It's called Fired Up that they played at a live show I went to. Also very good. A little bit more upbeat. Yeah, there's good stuff coming. And I just love that like I can share that. And like
I feel like it's also really nice that you still like have that super fan kind of status, even though you are literally working.
and proud.
Yeah, no, always be proud of being a super fan. That's
There's nothing
absolutely
wrong with it.
no, absolutely nothing. It's like, some people will be like, well, now I work with them. Like, I feel like it's gonna be weird if I'm,
Right.
like a fan.
I
But
separate them a lot because I think it's because I only work for Tom. Like I don't know if it would be as easy if I worked directly with the whole band.
yeah,
But like when I go see the Plain White Tees, I'm going to see the Plain White Tees and I'm going to
yeah.
fangirl over the Plain White Tees. I don't fangirl over Tom. Tom's just Tom. Like he's just some guy. Like the last show I went to, I needed him to shoot something for me for Humans Were Here, and he wouldn't do it on his own. And I was like, all right, let's go. And I took him out of the green room into the hallway and like made him shoot something. Like I have no like there's no pedestal anymore for Tom, but the other three are still up there.
Oh, well, that makes sense now. That's really cool. No, I think that's really cool. That's really cool. So we finish up. We have two questions, as I mentioned before. So one of them is, what's your biggest dream career-wise right now?
I would love for this fan engagement business to pay my bills. I don't need it to like skyrocket me to fame because everybody suddenly realizes how important fan engagement is, although that would be great. But if I'm paying my bills and if I'm paying my staff, like my interns right now, we already have planned out what their pay is going to look like to a point and it'll develop as we go. But like once they're making money and I'm making money, that's the dream. is to be making money in the industry so that I can pay my bills. And I'm also a dog walker. And like, I think I'll always have like side stuff like that going on because I enjoy it. And because I sometimes dog sit, like I sometimes dog sit for musicians. Like I cat sit for one of my musician friends who I'm also going to start working with. Like, so it all connects. But so I don't need it, like I said, to like take off. But if I'm making money and my team is making money and we're comfortable, that'll be, I will truly feel like my dream has been realized. Also working with Taylor Swift. But.
I mean, who wouldn't want to?
I mean, yeah, that would be awesome. So
Right. Fan engagement. Let's bring back the tea parties, ladies. Let's go.
that would be amazing. Yeah.
Okay, so our last question is, what is the soundtrack of your life?
So is this like I have to pick one song, or is it like I pick a couple songs to go through?
Well, it is to be interpreted however you want to interpret it.
All right.
Leave it open.
Okay. I like it. I'm going to name a couple songs and they're going to be chronological. All right. Let me think. The Monkees, obviously. For Pete's Sake. So that's track 1, The Monkees, For Pete's Sake. That was my first music tattoo. It's such a great, like they ended up making it they used to have the theme song at the beginning and the end, but then they changed it to For Pete's Sake for the end in the second season. It's a great song. The line that I have tattooed on me is love is understanding. It's in everything we do. And I feel like that's just boom, track 1.
Beautiful.
Track 2 is really silly. So back in the days of pop-up video, I used to call the pop-up video line where you could request a video and it cost you 99 cents. And I used to request NSYNC's Drive Myself Crazy at least once per weekend at my dad's. Like at least once per weekend. How I never got caught requesting it more than my allotted once per weekend, I do not know, but I never got caught. I also one time I accidentally requested Bangabus, which is not what I wanted to hear. So I then had to call back to request the correct song. So that's track number 2, because that was like that. It's really the video that I liked more than the song. And I really liked that video for some reason. It's literally them in a mental asylum in padded rooms and straitjackets and the whole 9 yards. Not something that would go over well today, but it was great entertainment when I was 8. Okay. Then Newfound Glory. Oh my God, what's the name of that song? Hold on. I'm just going to Google the line that immediately popped into my head. It's all downhill from here, I think is the one. Yeah. So Newfound Glory, It's All Downhill from Here is the next one, just because I had to pick something that was Newfound Glory for that kind of era of my life. And that one, like that line, there's a couple lines that are just like doing that in my head. And I'm like, okay, you're on the soundtrack. Relax. So that's that. And then Taylor Swift, Tim McGraw, going OG. When that album came out, I was also dealing with like the same kind of guy that she's talking about in that song. And like I had higher hopes for him than what turned out to be true. But yeah, so Tim McGraw, and I'm gonna leave that as my only Taylor Swift, I think. I'm gonna leave that as my only Taylor Swift, even though there are probably others. I think that's like the root of my Taylor Swift right there. Then Plain White Tees, I'm gonna pick 2. I know what my second one is gonna be. All That We Needed, the song, not the album, although the album is great.
You can choose the whole album if you want.
That's a lot. That's a lot to hold on to. So for me, for All That We Needed, it really is the song, because that was the last album of theirs that I like bought. Because I was buying them like one by one on iTunes. And then I went to a show because they weren't playing anything from it. Yeah. And then I went to a show and they played All That We Needed, and they had Darren, who I've mentioned like 400 times, on the stage. And I was like, well, shoot, I guess I need to learn this song. So I bought the whole album. And I don't know why that one, like that performance, like I can just picture Darren on the stage with them. Like there's a lot to that memory that's really nice. So just the song is fine. And then the second one will be Land of the Living, which was a really good one that they did. That was also a departure from their normal stuff. It was co-written by Dave Terrio and Mike Rotondo. And that's not a combo that happened very often in songwriting. So that was really cool. I think Terrio wrote the lyrics and Tondo wrote like not all the music, but there's like a particular riff in it that repeats. And that was like kind of what started it, was Tondo played that riff and then it went off on its own. And also knowing that, like, it has to be on the soundtrack. And then I'll do The Blushes, Me Time. Yeah. Oh, you know what? Somewhere in the middle there, we have to stick Punk Rock 101 from Bowling for Soup. Somewhere around the Newfound Glory Taylor Swift transition. I think that covers it. I hope I didn't forget anybody. I mean, there's definitely like artists that aren't on there that I'm like, maybe next time you'll be on the soundtrack. But for now, I feel like that encompasses the different like the different areas.
Yeah, that is great. That is your soundtrack, and that what makes you, I guess.
Well, thank you.
Yeah,
I think it does.
So thank you, Caitlin, for coming and talking to us.
Thank you for having
Yeah.
me. This was really fun.
No, it was really
This
fun
was
for
fun.
us as well. We're awkward sometimes. Sometimes we don't know what we're doing, but
I never know what I'm doing ever.
Yeah,
That's the beauty of having other people to work with, though.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's
It
good.
just happened. Do you want to share your socials or
Yeah.
your business socials or whatever?
Absolutely. So I'll give you 3 things. My personal Instagram, which is Caitlin Rose 6, but there's an extra E. So it's CAITLINROSEE and the number 6. And then the business Instagram is Caitlin, CAITLIN dot, no, that's the email. The Instagram is just Caitlin Rose. So CAITLINROSE dot communications. And then I'll also give you, in case anybody, whether it's an artist or a fangirl or whatever it is, a fanboy, I don't care, reach out to me for anything, anytime. Caitlin, CAITLIN .rose.communications@gmail.com. And I think you can leave the dots out and it'll still reach me because Gmail does that where the dots don't actually matter. But if you want to make sure you're spelling it right, I recommend putting the dots in there because it separates it really nicely. But yeah, inbox is always open. Instagram DMs always open. Hopefully, I don't know when this is supposed to air, but hopefully we'll actually have some content on the business Instagram because right now it just is like rebranding and that's all it says. But it's coming. So if it's not there yet when you listen to this, it's coming. Keep an eye on us.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you
Thank
so much.
you.
This was so fun.
This was a lot of fun. Listeners, go check it out and make sure to subscribe and follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at STL Lives Podcast. Thank you for joining us.